Get to the church plant! Get to the church plant! Go! Now!
I'm Pete Mitchell, and he's Peyton Jones, and you're listening to Hardcore Church Planting, the companion podcast to the Church Planter Podcast and Church Planter Magazine. Each week, we'll bring you interviews from planters who are in the trenches making it happen right now. These active church planters bear it all, share their successes, their failures, and what they'd wish they'd known when they were first starting out. Listen in to discover how God is working in their church plant.
Have you ever had to prep a sermon and you just looked at your bookshelf and you didn't have enough of what you needed? Well, you don't have to do that. Go to logos.com. Logos Bible software has everything that you need at pretty much at your fingertips, because you're literally typing stuff in, and with a click of a mouse button, you can open the entire C.H. Spurgeon library. You can look up original languages, word studies. I mean, this thing is like the Lollapalooza of church planting information. You can have a little mini concert in your sermon prep right there. All the greats kind of gathered around and picking their brains and putting them into your sermon. And you want to check out logosbiblesoftware.com. They'll actually make you look smarter than you actually are.
Hey, Church Planter, welcome back to Hardcore Church Planting. Today, my guest is, I gotta say, I'm super excited to have my guest. He is an author of multiple books, including Viral Churches and also God Dreams with Will Mancini. Warren Bird is the Director of Research for Leadership Network. And Warren, it's an honor to have you on here. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Peyton. And in chatting with you and hearing about your two books so far, I'm excited to learn more about your world as well.
Awesome. Well, hey, you've got a really helpful couple of bits of research that you've done at Leadership Network, and that's what we want to talk to you about today. Can you tell us, first off, tell us a little bit about yourself, kind of your journey to Christ, your foray into the world of church planting, and then we'll catch up from there.
Great. I came to Christ as a kid, but I didn't obey Jesus at all. So I did it again in my teenage years. I actually got rebaptized and said, Lord, you are number one in my life. And it's been a much better journey since that point. I thought that God wanted me to plant a church, and I did that. But then I found that I have none of the gifts of the church planter. So eventually God, in ways only God can do, led me to support church planters and to help others by putting tools in their hands. And this study that we're going to talk about was where almost 2,000 church planters and campus pastors both answered the same questions, and then we compared it against our Leadership Network's huge database of existing churches to say, okay, what makes each group distinct? What do they do well? Where is the fruit? How does it work best for them? And we had a good time learning a lot.
You know, it's amazing to me that God raises people up like yourself, like Epaphras, Priscilla, and Aquila, that they're not like the church planters, but they're huge supports. And wherever church planting's found, they're there, kind of supplying and encouraging. So thanks for that ministry. Well, let's talk about these downloadable. You've got latest multi-site trends, how new generation of pastors is shifting to strategies that reproduce and multiply. Tell us a little bit about this study.
Okay, so you just read the subtitle, or the title and the subtitle of something anyone can download for free at leadnet.org/portable. And the portable piece is because Portable Church Industries heard about what we were doing, and they said, wow, we want to be part of this. We'll sponsor it. And because so many church planters and new church campuses use portable stuff, yep. That was a win all over. So the gist here is the core question that we discovered the most on is we asked them as they look forward, where is the role of multiplication? And just to context it, I'll use terms exponential has popularized. The vast majority of churches in the United States, more than 80%, are either declining or plateaued. And and some, okay, now leaving that 80%, some are growing, and that tends to be church plants. But the mission of Jesus will not be completed if all we do is grow. If all of us grew, the mission of Jesus won't even be accomplished if we reproduce, meaning that I'm a church that plants other churches, or I'm a church that plants other campuses, but only if it multiplies, meaning that I plant and then I plant multiple, you plant multiple, the next one, kind of the 2 Timothy 2:2, train others who train others who train others who train others. And it's kind of the apples and the seed. You know, how many seeds are in this apple? Well, I can count them, but how many apples are in the seed? That you can't count. So what we noticed, the biggest finding of all from this that you get from the report, is that the younger the pastor, the more likely that pastor is to have a vision not of planting a church, but a movement, something that multiplies, something that is one planting another, and then that happening. So even you see in some churches mission statements, you know, we're here in blank city to start a whole movement of new churches or campuses to reach this city for Christ. And that is a dramatic shift from churches. And the fascinating thing is, the younger the pastor, the more and those are the pastors who you would think are least likely to be into multiplication, because they're thinking survival. I just got to get this first one out birthed. You know, let's not talk about others till we plant one successfully. But that's not how they're thinking.
No, and I would even say that from my own experience, when I plant, intentionally telling the congregation or the core team that that's what we're going to do, that most of us aren't going to be here, the core team itself takes on such a different dynamic. There's an energy, and I would say really a supernatural charge in that group that's not there if you're just existing to plant one. I mean, it is, you can feel God getting behind that in a big way when you're doing that. That's amazing. Why do you think?
Let me just give you a number before we do carry on. 83% of surveyed pastors under age 40 have a future vision to plant or launch a new campus or church. So that's why I said overwhelming majority. 83% under 40. Wow. That's amazing. So now I love statistics because I'm the guy who just kind of guesses at stuff. So it's really good to have this stuff laid down. You're the director of research. So for guys who don't know the importance of doing this kind of research, what's the reason for doing this kind of stuff? It gives you credibility. You get pushback by saying, why do we need to start another church? Why not just, and you can say, no, the mission of Jesus isn't going to be accomplished if all we do is even strengthen the existing churches. There's got to be, and so whether it's the growth of the population and not keeping up with it, or here's one of the things we learned. You want to reach millennials? Start something new. So, in the first report, again, they're both available at leadnet.org/portable. We gave a little infographic on 5 compelling new reasons to start a new church or campus. And the first reason is more millennials. You'll reach the next generation of young adults and families eager to grow with you. The majority of attendees in churches or multi-site campuses started in the last 5 years are 35 years of age or younger. So in 62% of the surveyed churches, they said more than half their people were under age 35. So the challenge of every church is, how do I reach the next generation? Well, I've got the statistics. Now, Peyton, back to your question. Why do we need statistics? These statistics validate that here's a pathway that works better. So what are some of the findings? What are some of the pathways that you're finding that are from the data that you're collecting that say, hey, if you're going to church plant, these are the things that you need to be thinking? Well, let me just give you another plus for the church planting. We ask pastors, how likely in the last month, or what percent of your congregation would you say were actively inviting other people to become followers of Jesus Christ? Great question. It's something every church wants. It's all throughout the Bible. And then we ranked those churches by how old they were, or campuses. And in the first churches or campuses that are 5 years old or younger are 52% more likely to invite friends and family to consider faith in Jesus Christ than at any time in the life of the church.
Wow.
So you're wondering, well, should we start a new thing? Should we not? The answer is yes. Even if it's a grand experiment where you say, well, we learned a lot from that. Now, next time we do it, we'll do it better. But you want to reach millennials? You want to get people at a point where they're excited about sharing their faith with others? Start a new church or campus.
Yeah, that's so true. We would see people, and I was the evangelist for a number of years at a big legacy church, and we saw so many more conversions by planting than literally on the tail of each other. And this is in Europe. Europe's no easy church plant. But we would plant churches there, and we would see people get saved every single week, which, I don't know what the dynamic is. What do you think is the dynamic in church planting that causes that?
In other words, why?
Yeah.
Because there is an excitement first, there's an expectation
Right.
that, if we don't share our faith, isn't that there's a focus on mission, first of all, that when you start, you have clarity of mission like you never have. And as the years go by, you can have mission drift and institutionalization and everything that kind of blurs why we're here. You have a new wave of new believers, and one new believer beget, that early in our walk with Christ, we seem to be more excited about sharing our faith with others. So, and have more connections with our non-Christian friends and relatives to do so. You have, for better or worse, somewhat of a survival question. If we're doing this in order to reach our community, therefore we're all involved. And here's another statistic that kind of helps give a reason why. Lay involvement. You talked about new believers. We found that 31% more people volunteer regularly in the first 5 years of a new church or campus than at later years of involvement. And, that first struck me when I did our multi-site research, which those of you that are multi-site and want even more than this leadnet.org/portable stuff, go to leadnet.org/multi-site and look up the word scorecard. And in it, we say, okay, when you added a new campus, did your lay involvement go down, stay the same, or go up? And it was something like 92% or 89%. It was just astronomically high that those filling out the survey said it went up. So when you start something new, see, you've got people in places already, and others aren't likely to bump them and say, well, you shouldn't be on the worship team. I should do that, or you shouldn't be an usher. I should do that. But we're happy to let you do it. But when you start something new and you've already got kind of the self-volunteered group, now it's time to say, you really could do that. You really could. And there's a recruitment where people rise to a new challenge. Yeah. And they say, okay, now if I'm rising to the new challenge, I'm even more vested in saying, well, then if I'm going to lead this small group, I better start inviting people to join the small group or whatever the case, which again intensifies the outward focus. I love that too, because coupled with what you said earlier about, the excitement, the new converts, you put all that together and people are saying, you know what, I really believe this is worthy of me serving, worthy of my gifts, worthy of my time, because I'm seeing people come to faith. I'm part of this exciting movement. And what excites me about all these statistics, putting them together, is that you've literally
when things are intentionally focused on mission, you mentioned intentionality being one of the reasons why. As we intentionally focus on mission, it's funny how health kind of falls in place here. And that's what these figures seem to be demonstrating. I want to ask you, Warren, can I call you Warren, or should I be calling you Dr. Bird?
Only here's the secret. Only my father-in-law has to call me Dr. Bird, and he doesn't know anyone does differently. So right. Warren is just great.
All right. I feel I can call you Warren. You're very personable, so I apologize for that earlier.
That's great. Let's go for it.
You can always tell if I ask that question, that's a big sign of respect for my guest. But here's a question I have.
And it also, you can't see us, but he sees a couple of gray hairs on my face as well.
So here's the thing. Like, I love these statistics, and so I don't want to ask a searching penetrate. I want to hear more of these. So can you hit me with some more? And I know you guys have 2 downloadables. So if you want, we can shift gears to the other one if you want.
Well, I've actually been pulling from both of them, both of them at leadnet.org/portable. Let me tell you, we talked about new converts, and we talked about lay people being involved. Let's talk about training a future church planter or campus pastor. Here's a number: 2.5 times. That's how much more likely a multi-site campus or new church is to have trained a future campus pastor or church planter than did a single site or older church. So all that to say, these young upstarts are not just being Lone Ranger leadership, but they get the idea from day one that I can take in a ministry resident. That's one of the most buzz terms. And by the way, if you want to learn more about that, go to leadnet.org/intern. We did a study on churches with hopping internships, what makes them thrive and all. But basically, churches are not only reaching people for Christ, involving their lay people, but they've got a pathway and an intentionality about training and raising up other church planners. And one of my predictions is the more a church planter has a background of having been on the front lines in a church, like I graduated from seminary and went straight into church planting. I was not part of a church plant before that. Well, I was when I was a kid, but that was a whole different context. I think I would have done so much better had I been part of a church, especially one that says, "Hey, we'll take you under wing. We want to train you. We want to stretch you. We want to give you lots of responsibilities, and then at a certain point, we will send you out and bless you, and we might even do more than just say, be warm, be fed, and come tell us about it in a year." There's a partnership that happens that just helps ensure the success of the new church or plant.
Wow. That's amazing. So I'm encouraged by the fact that we're seeing a younger trend, and you've got on here that pastors are tending towards multiplication. What are some of the factors? Why do you think that church planters or pastors are moving more towards multiplication?
Let me offer 2. One is the movement of exponential led by Dave Ferguson, and I've been involved in that. The latest book I co-authored was Dave Ferguson and Warren Bird, called Hero Maker, which has been the theme book for the 2018. Their motive and passion is, they call it 5 levels. So declining is level 1, plateau is level 2, growing is level 3, reproducing, which means you're planting one more thing, is level 4, and then multiplying is where it's multiple generations planting. And they've done the research, and I helped a bit with it. And Lifeway, Southern Baptist, Ed Stetzer at the time did it, to verify that what I said at the top of this broadcast, that even if we all grow, that's not going to reach the nation, much less the world. And so we need to move the needle. We need to redefine the goalpost and say, no, growing alone is not going to do the job. We've got to figure out how to multiply. And so people are getting that and saying, okay, then what does that mean for me? Second, I think millennials in particular, the younger generation, gets the idea of kingdom mindedness better than any generation that's out there right now. Too many of us it's like, okay, how's this going to grow my church? Well, okay, that's a helpful question, but an even better question is, what is this going to do to impact the kingdom of God and what God is trying to do all over, and how can we be part of that?
That's good. You know, one of the things that you have on here is launch size advice. Now, I've never seen this before. This is
but
really
I
cool.
bet you've asked different people and said, what size do we need to be?
And I've been asked, and I've come up blank. So I'm really, you know, I've never had a metric
let
for
me
this.
unpack that table. Yes,
Heck
you've
yeah.
got a metric. Again, it's leadnet.org/portable. Download the things and you got the chart. So basically we found two things. One, it's a moving answer. It's relative to what size you are. In that if you're a larger size, you're going to recommend a larger size. If you're a smaller size in how you launch, you're going to recommend a smaller size. But no matter who you are, the second factor, you're going to recommend a little bit bigger than what you did.
Right.
So if you were a church plant of 100 or a campus launch of 100, you're going to say, well, it should be, maybe 140 or 150. Now, do you have to follow these? No, but this is the wisdom from people who have recently done it and what they've said. Now, is it better for them to have started not at the optimal size and, done all they could for Jesus? Absolutely, rather than waiting. But this is what the practitioners told us.
I love it. So, I won't give all of the answers away, but it says, if you're under 100, wait till you're 160 before you plant. It's actually 162. There's some fine detail analysis going on here, but what I love about this is, I'll be honest, I have not always done this right. So you and I talked, I'm a multiplier and a sequential planner. So I tend to plant and move on. Well, as I'm multiplying churches, if I'm there staying, I think I've been guilty of going too rapid at times to the expense of the health of the sending church. And I remember that my philosophy was always, we'll go back to bare bones again at the sending church. And then what will happen is, as we go back to bare bones, we'll be forced back into that part of reliance and dependence on the Holy Spirit. And that can always be a good thing. And we'll renew and redouble our efforts for mission to reach people. And yes, all of that is true. However, I relate to Paul. You know how you can track Paul's learning on his journeys? What's really been helpful to me is see that Paul grew over the course of his ministry. I would definitely say that I would do it differently. So this metric for me is helpful because as I look at planting, I would do it differently. I wouldn't have launched so many out so quickly, because what we found was the sending church was not in a position to provide the support, whether it was emotional. We went back down to a skeleton crew at the sending church. We didn't have time to look after our churches that we planted out. I mean, for that factor alone, and these are the things, unfortunately, you only learn by doing it the wrong way. Or maybe, like you said, we did all we could. We went rapid, but I think Paul might have started out wanting to go rapid when he started. And then he starts tweaking it in his ministry that maybe I want to, Galatians happened on my first missionary journey. Maybe I need to start recruiting guys and launching safer. So this is super helpful. And I noticed that you not only have ones for church plants, but even multi-sites.
Yeah. So Peyton, let me throw out what my biggest spiritual learning in the last couple of years is. It's reflected in Hero Maker, but it would be my advice to a church when they say, how much wind can we take out of our sails in launching another campus? And it's really what you alluded to in your commentary. Enough wind, leave enough wind that you can stay in relationship and help ongoingly the other church. So here's my analogy. I have recently concluded that I have not made a disciple until that person is making a disciple. And I take that from Matthew 28, from 2 Timothy 2:2 and all. And I, by analogy, I have not made an apprentice until I have helped that person begin to make their own apprentice. And now I want to apply it to church plants or campuses. I have not really birthed successfully a church or campus until I can help, until that new entity is at the point of working towards planting, not just theoretically,
right,
but is in motion towards starting another. And if I give away everything I've got such that I'm so focused on rebuilding myself as if I'm the church plant as well, then I can't help you as if you will, the spiritual child to grow and mature to the point that you can reproduce as well. And maybe human children is not nearly as good an analogy as mice or something that, can multiply quickly, but needs that initial nurturing.
Yeah, amen. I agree with that big time. Well, hey, we're running out of time, but I want to first off thank you for being able to come on and chat to us about what you're doing. Again, guys, it's leadnet.org/portable. Make sure you get these. These are fascinating.
And they're free.
And they're free, which is a church planter's favorite number. So this is wonderful. And, of course, there's some great stuff on here as well. Portable, Church has 4 myths, church planting myths about portable churches that are fantastic on there as well. But this is good, solid stuff. And of course, it's from Warren Bird. Warren, I can't believe that when you asked me prior to this call and I said, "Oh, Hero Maker," I gotta say Hero Maker. I'm slightly charismatic. I'm charismatic with a seatbelt. Let's put it that way. But you could sense the presence of God in a big way. Like the Hero Maker message, you can just really feel the heart of God in that whole message. And it is such an important shift. So on a personal note, thank you for that, because you're right. The Hero Maker is the one right now. I've got a Hero Maker backpack sitting right out of camera shot here. But thank you for your work on that as well. That's been a huge deal.
Well, Dave Ferguson is leads, or I should say co-leads, because it's a team, and you wrote a book on team leadership in church plants. One of my favorite churches in the United States, and I just think anything Dave Ferguson says, it's been an honor for me to be part of. But we agree that of all the books he's written, Hero Maker is his best in terms of being highly practical to leaders to help them move the needle together and accomplish God's mandates and call and mission for his church.
Amen. Well, hey, Warren, the question we ask at the very end is the same for everyone, but it has moving parts, and we custom tune and fit this question to each of our guests. So here's the question. Since you have written a book with multiple authors, I'm just going to randomly pick out of the air which ones you've written with, and I think I'll land on viral churches. You have co-authored a book with Ed Stetzer, and if you and Ed Stetzer were to get in a physical fist fight, who would win?
Ed, because he's the lead author, and I defer to him. But it was truly a collaborative thing. He and I are both, somewhat capable writers, and we ripped each other apart going back and forth. No, that should go for, no, we needed this. And we actually had to kind of come to peace with each other after a couple of days sessions and say,
that's
okay,
good to know.
Are we okay with each other? Because we really both put our hearts into that book. And the subtitle, in case you wonder, viral churches. Oh no, is that like viral pneumonia? And all? No, it's like a video that goes viral or anything else. It's subtitled How Church Planters Become Movement Makers.
Right.
And it was the seeds of what became Hero Maker and many other ideas out there. So,
well, you have been connected with what I think are some of the most significant books that are a part of changing the conversation, like Viral Churches, like God Dreams, which, if you guys don't know, Church Unique was Will's first book. And then Warren, helped him fill in God Dreams, which is kind of the center part of the vision frame, and, amazing game-changing book on vision. But yeah, I mean, Warren, thanks. And it's been a real honor to have you on here.
Can I throw out one more because of who the audience is? Yeah. It's called Better Together, and it's about mergers. And I want people to know that 1 out of 3 multi-site campuses, more than 1 out of 3, comes by way of a merger. And this can be approached either way by we call it the lead church and the joining church. And more often it is the joining church, but the lead church can cultivate that and in a very Christ-like way, lead into a partnership where it's a win for both.
That's huge. Guys, many of you, and I know this because you contact me and say, hey, I'm thinking of merging. What do I do? That's a big conversation, and it does require a book. Definitely check that out. Can you repeat the title of that book again?
Better Together by Jim Tomberlin and Warren Bird.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, hey, thanks for joining us again today for Hardcore Church Planning. My guest has been Warren Bird, author of multiple books, including Hero Maker, God Dreams, and Viral Churches. You can check out these 2 free downloads at leadnet.org/portable. Arnold, sign us out.
Remember, if you are called to church planting, go hardcore or go home.
Hey, I want to give a big shout out to our number 1 sponsor. They've been with us for years. I know them personally. The founder is Josh Henry. He is an ex-church planner. If you wonder why we have so much fun with SimplifyChurch.com's ads, it's simply because we love these guys. We believe in them. I have used them. Gosh, as a church planner, I found them and have been using them for donkey's years. And if you don't know, that means a really long time. So head on over to SimplifyChurch.com. They're going to help you do all the stuff that you need to do, but nobody taught you to do in seminary. Things like bookkeeping, payroll, dealing with the IRS, making sure you're compliant, sending end-of-year donor receipts. If you haven't done that yet, 'tis the season. You have until the end of January to get those out to your people. So make sure you head on over to SimplifyChurch.com and let them simplify your church.
You've been listening to Hardcore Church Planning. Hardcore Church Planning has been brought to you by the Church Planner Podcast and the Church Planner Magazine, which is available in the App Store for both Apple and Android devices. If you like this episode, leave us a positive review. If you didn't like this episode, we'll be happy to give you your money back.